Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, Chair of the meeting, Excellencies, I'm honored to be in Moscow once again and to speak at this August gathering on international security. I'm also equally pleased to be speaking about the critical transformational processes that are reorienting the contours of the world as we know it. There is no doubt that we see today an upheaval of the global order. This naturally leads to discussions on all aspects of the structures and institutions that once helped maintain the status quo and the changes that are being wrought therein. Where we are in a new era. And with it come new rules of interaction. The demands of the new order also merit discussion then on the roles that global power centers such as Russia, the United States, and China find themselves confronting. Critically, these opportunities and challenges have contributed to how Afghanistan, the decades-long conflict and yearning for peace, is being perceived and addressed anew, both by my countrymen and women and by the regional and international stakeholders. Therefore, within the larger mandate of this conference, ladies and gentlemen, I will share my thoughts on Afghanistan and as I see it from our vantage point in Kabul. My country in the past 3 centuries has been by compulsion in the very center of the great game of the time. It has been, through the circumstances of its location, a victim and player. This time, I hope the Afghan people will manage better, and I believe there is much reason to exercise cautious optimism about the unfolding of events that are relevant to Afghanistan. For too long, my country has suffered from war and conflict. And for too long, it has not had an equal seat at the table that was to decide its fate. This is a strongly entrenched bottom line. Any help in this direction from the well-intentioned stakeholders is a move in the right direction. A partnership for peace is always welcome, and there is no denying that foreign powers have long had an interest and presence in Afghanistan. No one is going to suddenly have a location of such breathtaking strategic importance, significance left alone. However, a design for peace that also includes Afghanistan's own interests can and must be sought. For my country, the tragedy of September 11 brought a sudden and massive change. The US and its allies, backed by the United Nations and major world powers, arrived in Afghanistan and were welcomed by the people in the hope of peace and normal life. This cooperation between the international community and the people of Afghanistan brought many achievements, as well as hope for a normal life into the future. But the prolongation of war in Afghanistan in the absence of results only added to the suffering of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very clear by now that the resolution of the conflict in my country cannot come through violence. The idea of a military solution is now more unthinkable than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come, therefore, for a compact that brings us all together with the common resolve to demonstrate cooperation. We see different templates of negotiations for the Afghan peace process underway, and it is my wish to see them succeed. In this regard, I welcome the recent efforts by the United States and Russia. We have seen the launch of US policy to end conflict in my country and to arrange a settlement through direct talks with the Taliban movement and by encouraging and trying for an intra-Afghan dialogue. We have also seen the convening of two important conferences in Moscow since November last year. The co-sponsorship of the Afghan peace process by the United States, Russia, and China will definitely carry the process to succeed. And in this regard, a meeting in Washington of the special representatives of China, Russia, the US, and the EU is a welcome development. I also hope that a meeting of the representatives of Russia, the US, and China to be held in Moscow tomorrow will bring about a common stand on the peace process that we see so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this provides a good follow-up, a good segue to what we are seeking. In my view, success will come if the following fundamental tenets inform our efforts for peace and are structured and conducted accordingly. 1, it must genuinely be based and encourage an intra-Afghan dialogue. 2, the transparency in how the peace process evolves and is conducted is crucial. 3, the peace process that must draw on the support of the neighborhood and the wider region and global powers. 4, deals about Afghanistan between third parties should in no way be a measure of the peace process itself. 5, the development of a new security mechanism through collaboration between major international regional actors so that Afghanistan is once again a place of cooperation and not of confrontation. And last, Afghanistan regains ownership of its own processes and has sovereignty over all its affairs. In this regard, the recent developments have been instructive. And early in November of 2018, Russia brought Afghan authorities and Taliban movement together to the negotiating table in Moscow. Members of the Peace Council of Afghanistan attended this meeting. A representation from the United States, China, Iran, India, Pakistan, and other neighbors was also invited. The meeting, which was opened by the Foreign Minister of Russia, His Excellency Sergei Lavrov, laid the foundation for the broader intra-Afghan dialogue in February this year. The Moscow intra-Afghan dialogue in February brought together a large number of Afghan representatives and the Taliban movement to discuss the end to the conflict and ways to a peaceful political settlement. The extent to which this platform played the role of an icebreaker and its high significance hardly needs stating. In the joint statement, all the Afghan participants came together in their desire for peace and for ending the bloodshed. The conference concluded with the decision that this format of an all-inclusive intra-Afghan dialogue must continue. The second phase has now been planned for Qatar, which we hope will take place at the soonest. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to state that Russia's goodwill has been exemplary. I very much hope that Russia's statesmanship will further help my country and its people take their rightful place in all Afghan peace process-related activities. and that this process successfully arrives at a durable peace and stability imminently. Ladies and gentlemen, the criticality of the goodwill of our friends and neighbors, in particular our close and good neighbors, Pakistan and Iran, with whom we have good relations. With Iran, we have excellent relations. With Pakistan, we love to have excellent relations. And our own foresight in establishing even stronger foreign ties leads me now to speak to you about my country's external relations, which, as you know, have seen is central to the peace process itself. In this regard, it is important that Afghanistan engage in friendly relations with its neighbors, the region, and the major powers. Today, the US has an overarching presence in Afghanistan. This needs to give way to active cooperation with major powers and our neighbors once again. They and the US must look at constructing a new geopolitics of common purpose to reach a long-term compact for cooperation in Afghanistan, which means peace for Afghanistan, which means an end to allowing extremism and terrorism to arrive in Afghanistan, which also means not allowing Afghan territory to be used by those terrorist organizations. This way, and thus, ladies and gentlemen, enable my country to address the daunting challenges to its security and development by engaging in a win-win cooperation with multiple centers and seek balance. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.